Hello everyone, good morning from Caracas for teleSUR. I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. To begin today, we go to Colombia, where the government this morning in Colombia, where the president there, Juan Manuel Santos, has praised the humanitarian agreements between his government and the leftist FARC rebel movement. Now, Santos says the accords reached this Saturday are key issues ahead of a final peace agreement. The two sides agreed to create a specialized unit to search for people who are considered disappeared. And although experts believe this task will take years, the families of victims have also expressed their hope that the end of the war is near. Official figures show 52,000 people remain missing, but NGOs say it's more like 70,000 to 100,000.
The agreement reached this Saturday on the issue of the disappeared allows us to see, even clearer, an end to the war. The agreement to share information so the victims know what happened to their loved ones, where they might be. It's already a firm step towards ending the war.
And our correspondent in Colombia, Natalia Margarita, now picks up reactions to the humanitarian agreements.
For 28 years, Luz Marina has been tirelessly searching for her husband, who disappeared leaving their 2-year-old son without the possibility of ever knowing his father. Even though she has lost all hope to find her relative alive, her struggle for the truth remains as strong as ever.
My current hope is the same hope of thousands of relatives, that they tell us where our loved ones are, that they return them to us, that they tell us why they disappeared them, and most importantly, that they allow us to mourn them, a mourning that we have not undertaken, as we don't know where they are, because the state disappeared them without leaving any trace.
Now that the government and the FARC have reached an agreement to find and hand over to the families those who have disappeared, hope seems to be one step closer for the relatives of an estimated 45,000 people who have disappeared during Colombia's armed conflict.
What has been agreed mainly aims to relieve them of that sorrow, the profound sorrow of the relatives of the disappeared. This is a further demonstration that the victims are at the center of this peace process. Our purpose in Havana is to put a definite end to the suffering of thousands of Colombians.
A special unit will be created to find the disappeared once a final peace deal is signed. However, the parties have also agreed to immediately start working together by sharing information on where the bodies of the disappeared might be found, a process that will be assisted by the International Committee of the Red Cross.
To have very short time impact on the people, and this is also what the parties want. This agreement that was announced yesterday is led by a humanitarian spirit, so to say, and we want to really acknowledge the efforts made by the two parties to reach this very important agreement, because it is very, very important for the victims in the ground.
Now, victims of state crimes have insisted that the success of the deal on disappeared mainly relies on to the truth that the state has yet to show as the perpetrator of 80% of these crimes. Natalia Margarita, teleSUR, Bogotá.
We go to Brazil now, where President Dilma Rousseff and her predecessor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, have been exonerated of all responsibility in the Petrobras corruption scandal. Commission spokesperson lawmaker Luis Sergio Nobrega de Oliveira says there is no evidence implicating Rousseff or Lula in any of documents explained by the Parliamentary Commission. The findings will be voted on this Thursday by a commission of 27 lawmakers, the majority of whom are pro-government. Officials say the investigations will continue. And we continue in Brazil now. Emergency rescue teams continue searching for victims amid the smoking rubble after an explosion flattened a commercial area in northern Rio de Janeiro. So far, no deaths, thankfully, have been reported. 8 people were injured there, including 1 child. 14 buildings were completely destroyed by illegally acquired gas canisters, which could have been the cause of the explosion. Here in Caracas, several residents with Syrian roots voiced their support for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Russian airstrikes targeting the Islamic State in the country. They criticized the U.S. and NATO intervention in the embattled Arab country. Now, since Russia began attacking Islamic State militants in late September, dozens of vital extremist positions have been destroyed. Also, thousands of Islamic State fighters have deserted the group, fleeing the deadly Russian airstrikes. Mexico's Foreign Minister Claudia Ruiz Maceu met her Cuban counterpart Bruno Rodriguez in Havana, Cuba. Both officials reviewed issues to strengthen the relationship between the two countries. They also agreed on increasing trade between the two countries. Now, in 2014, bilateral trade was worth close to $375 million between those countries. The Cuban diplomat thanked Mexico for its historic support against the U.S. blockade on the island nation. Ruiz Maceo says Mexican countries are interested in investing in Cuba in education, science, arts, technology, and industry.
We recognizing Mexico, a country which we have a very intense relationship. We are prepared to increase economic trade and commercial relations. The presence of Mexican investors in the economic zone is very promising, as well in the special development zone of Mariel, where Mexican companies have already settled in.
Meanwhile, in Mexico, check this out. The ruins of a 16th century church believed to have been built by Spanish colonists has recently surfaced from receding reservoir waters of the southern state of Chiapas. Now, the water dropped about 80 feet, revealing the 400-year-old roofless church. There it is. Specialists think the structure was built in the year 1564 by Dominican friars who came to evangelize the inhabitants of the region, then inhabited by the Zoque people. Now, in 2002, part of the ruins also surfaced due to severe drought. World news now, we go to Canada, North America. The vote counting has concluded there. The Liberal Party will now hold a majority in the Parliament. The Liberals of Justin Trudeau garnered 40% of the vote and won 184 seats in Parliament. Now, that's even more support than pre-election polls there had projected. Now, this means the Liberals can govern with a majority and form a government on their own. For Stephen Harper, the leader of the Conservatives and Prime Minister, the defeat was a major blow and a clear message that after 10 years, Canadians are unhappy with his rule. Trudeau has pledged a $10 billion annual budget deficit for 3 years to scope Canada out of anemic economic growth. In the United States now, in the last 6 months, 193 African Americans have been killed by police. We go now to our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Bianca Perez, for more on those statistics.
The Justice, Safety, and Jobs campaign united in Washington, D.C. on Monday various organizations and social activists who demand an immediate reform of police departments across the nation. The pilot city for this initiative will be Baltimore, 6 months after the death of Freddie Gray in the hands of police.
The system needs to be changed right now, not in the future, not a year, 2 years from now, but right now, so that people of color won't continue to be victimized by the police.
Some of the recommendations presented during the panel include firing corrupt police officers, improving community policing, and ensuring that officers are trained to de-escalate situations.
The training is key because these officers are taught more so instead of to protect the community that they vow to protect themselves. It's more like we're preparing you to defend yourself. This is Baltimore City when that's not how they should be trained, especially when we're calling them for help.
The history of race relations in the United States has led to the various uprisings that have taken place, denouncing increased indices of police brutality in past months. For activists, the majority of these abuses of human rights never see justice.
As long as America stands, there'll be white supremacy, right? And so the problem is that when black bodies are attacked, they're not protected, and we've never seen what justice looks like for the victims of police brutality.
The latest example of police brutality was seen in the nation's capital, where a young man was handcuffed by officers simply because of the color of his skin. Bianca Perez, teleSUR, Washington, D.C.
U.S. Secretary the cleanup operation of the most radioactive town in Western Europe. Now, the town in question is Palomares, where in 1966, 2 U.S. aircrafts crashed, dumping 7 pounds of plutonium in an area of almost 1 square mile. The accident occurred on January 17th of that year when an American B-52 bomber collided with a tanker during mid-air refueling over the Mediterranean Sea.
And we have to build on today's signing to take further action to resolve once and for all this very important issue. Over the past 50 years, we have worked together to secure the area, to remove contaminated soil, and to decontaminate land, and to ensure public health and safety of the people.
Cristiano Ronaldo, he may be playing his last season with Real Madrid. That's according to various news websites. They report that the club's president, Florentino Perez, has no intention of offering the 30-year-old star striker a new contract. Instead, Perez is waiting on an offer of about $110 million to do away with his services. Apparently, the Paris Saint-Germain club is interested in the player. The news comes a week after Ronaldo expressed desire to end his career at Real Madrid. That's what we're covering on this Tuesday morning here from Caracas. Hope you have a great day. We have plenty more on all of those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle, back with you in just a few hours for the latest headline. See you later.